Hey there, welcome back to another episode of the Redeemed Marriage Podcast. This is Rusty and Heather Bryant. Glad to be back with you for another episode. And so a little bit of, I guess, an update. And I mean, this episode is going to be fun. It's going to be, we're going to dive in to some really, we're going to have just a great, fun discussion because it's almost, when we're recording this, it's almost Valentine's Day. But before we do that, just a little follow-up. If you follow along with us, we know that some of you, you do listen to us every week, so you're kind of up to date, and you've listened to lots of episodes. If you're not one of those people and you just kind of turn us on whenever, let me encourage you, whatever platform you listen to this, hit the follow button, because that way the podcast every week when it comes out, it'll just pop into your little queue and you can follow along that way. So sometimes I think we assume that people are kind of right along with us, but last week we did an episode on prayer because we are in the middle of a season of prayer, and we have been praying for you, our listeners. So for our challenge that our church does, we're challenged to pray for one thing at 1 o'clock each day, and that's the P28 challenge for the 28 days of February. But we told you guys last week we have sort of changed that up a little bit, and we just felt led to pray for marriages. And so we've asked you guys for specific prayer requests, specific couples that we can add to our calendar. And it went a little crazy, which is fine because we don't want you to feel like you're slighted. We want you to know that we can actually pray for 5 couples a day because that's what we're up to now. So there are 5 couples a day on our prayer calendar for the month of February. But here's what I want you to know. We do pray for you by name. We also, in our calendar, we have notes of what you sent to us as far as your prayer request and what you want us to pray about. And so we pray for those things specifically. I also want you to know about a really cool story that happened today at church, and I'll let Heather tell that real quick.
Okay, yeah. So a friend of mine came up to me at church and said, I really couldn't settle on one specific thing to pray for my P28 challenge. And so when I was listening to y'all's podcast about it, I just heard God tell me to join you in praying for the married couples that you're praying for. And so she doesn't know you guys by name, but she just says that her one thing at 1 o'clock for 1 minute every day in February that she's praying for is praying specifically for the couples that Rusty and I are praying for that day. And she also shared that with her small group, and other people in her small group were like, we're going to make that our P28 challenge. So not only are Rusty and I praying for you by name, but there are other ladies in our church and small group members that are praying for you. And even though they don't know your name, God knows your name, and they're praying for you as we are. So there are just lots of people praying for the marriages that we have been told about, and I just thank you guys for reaching out to us and entrusting us with that.
Yeah, I just think that's an incredible story because I think there are people out there that sort of heard the heaviness that we felt last week, but also how we are learning to give that over to God, that we aren't responsible for fixing and repairing marriages, but we are responsible for crying out.
Well, and carrying you to the one
that's right.
who can fix in these marriages.
Yeah, and some people that picked up on that were like, we want to help with that.
That's right.
And I just think that's amazing. So, and if you didn't get, on our prayer calendar yet, we got, even somebody last night, because people are going back and listening, and they're just catching up. And so they're still asking. And if you're
listening to this and it's not February, it's okay.
Oh, yeah. We do pray in other months of the
That's
year.
Right.
So, okay. We just had to tell that because there's so many of you that listen I mean, obviously, because we have over 100 people just on our prayer calendar for this month. And so I know that you guys are listening, and I wanted you to just to be sure that there are people praying for you, and we are praying for you specifically, but there's others out there praying. All right, so we are about 2 days away from Valentine's Day.
When you listen to this, it's tomorrow.
Yeah,
I mean, most of you.
Right. Hopefully, because like I said, hopefully you follow us along, but it could be at any point. And so here's the thing: for married couples, wouldn't it just be great if Valentine's Day was kind of every day? Now, again, you got to make it special, and you got to do some things that would be a little out of the ordinary. But at the same time, the idea of Valentine's Day and the romance involved with that, it should be something that carries on throughout the year. So we're going to talk today, and we're gonna break this into 2 parts. So today we're going to talk about what a man really wants for Valentine's Day. And then next week, we're going to talk about what a woman really wants for Valentine's Day. And so first of all, can we just make the disclaimer that we know that not everybody is the same?
That's right.
No, not every woman's the same. Not every man is the same. But we're going to give some general and some personal. This is some things, obviously, that are personal to us, but it is also very general for how most men feel.
And some of it is research-based.
Yeah.
And some of it is our research-based.
That's right. It's all over the place. So we're just going to have this fun discussion. And part of what's going to make it fun is that I'm going to kind of lead this one today on what men want, obviously. Heather has no idea what I'm going to share. And so we're going to be able to have a real discussion on what makes some of those things that a man desires and needs, what makes that hard for a woman.
That makes me really, really nervous, by the way.
Oh, you'll be fine. So those of you that are out there that are listening that are women, you're gonna walk away from this going, okay, this is how I can improve in this area. This is, how I maybe need to retrain my thinking, that sort of thing. And then, obviously we'll do the same thing for the women for next week. So here we go. Let's jump into this. And so I think the thing that would really make this a really short episode would be to say that what a man really wants for Valentine's Day is sex. And then we just turn it off.
See y'all next week.
But I'm going to be mature.
Okay.
And I'm going to be...
Let's see how that goes.
Well, I'm going to be mature for the first half.
Okay.
I'm going to be mature, and not that that's immature because, it's a real thing. But I'm going to talk a little bit more of... This is something that we want for Valentine's Day, but this is just in general what a man wants and needs every day of the year. And if you're looking for a day to start this and be like, I'm gonna do better with this, then start it on Valentine's Day. So that's what we would really want. So there's gonna be 2 parts to this. This first one is gonna be this. And for those of you listening and you're like, oh, I mean, really, it is sex. Well, we're going to talk about that as well. So, but here's what I want to say to you. First of all, you really need to know your spouse's love language. And we talk about love languages a lot on here, but and again, it doesn't have to be the whole 5 love languages, take the quiz. It doesn't have to be that. You just have to know what your spouse wants.
And if you don't know, ask them.
That's right.
How do you feel loved?
Yeah, and I mean, there are the love languages, the words of affirmation, acts of service, physical touch, gifts, and quality time. There they are.
How did you forget that one?
I know, because that was
number 1.
Well, and it's way up there for me too. But those are the things, and you need to be able to pinpoint. And so on Valentine's Day, that's what you need to do for your spouse. Let's just make it really simple. If you know what their love language is, then do that. If their love language is not gifts, then don't go buy them a bunch of gifts.
Now hold
up. Okay. Hey,
I was like, whoa.
I'm running this.
Okay,
I'm running this.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, don't tell somebody not to get their wife a gift.
No, we're not talking about the
because
women.
I have 0. Huh?
Well, I mean, we're talking about what a man wants.
Oh, okay.
Right.
But I'm
this
just saying,
time.
okay, you're right. Forgive me.
Yeah. So
Continue.
I'm just saying that for Valentine's Day and every day,
Okay.
like, know what makes your spouse feel loved.
Right.
Okay. So now I'm going to go into this really general, here are the things, and we'll get a little bit specific.
Okay.
So for a man wants to be respected. I have a hard time with that word because it's got such a really broad meaning. Like, what does that mean?
Well, not only that, but I think our world has made it a negative connotation to it.
How so?
Like on submit to your husband.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people tie that into respect, and I think they're completely different.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say this. I don't know that a man, the word submission is not really what I think of at all when I hear respect. Mm-hmm. So what I hear and what I think of when I hear the word respect is I think of appreciation, honor, words of affirmation, like, do you believe in me? Mm-hmm. Kind of like, you still think I'm the greatest thing mm-hmm. ever. Mm-hmm. And so how do you put that into practice on a daily basis? Well, I think that it really is part of the let me tell you and let me vocalize to you how awesome you are. Mm-hmm. And that is, I mean, that could come in the form of, you are such a great dad. Mm-hmm. That could come in the form of, the yard looks so good. Like, those people down the street, they wish that you were the man of their house.
They wish you were their yard man too.
Yeah. I mean, those kind of things. And, even like, man, and again, this is not for every spouse out there, because I understand that there are some husbands that have let themselves go really bad in the area of physical fitness. But for those that actually work hard at it and try, then that's another thing. Like I'm still attracted to you because you work hard to stay fit or whatever it is. But all of those things, put them all together, and that's how you show a husband that they're honored, they're appreciated, they're loved, all of that respect, whatever word you want to say. So where I think that where we get sideways with this is, I think a lot of wives do the exact opposite of that, where those things may take place, but instead of pointing those things out, you point out the shortcomings. So there may be all of these great things that are going on, or it may just be a few things great that are going on, because there are some deadbeat husbands out there. But I think that it's so much easier for wives to point out, do you remember how many times I've asked you to change that light bulb? Or, how many times have I, are you ever going to get around to doing this? That kind of thing. So
it's Monday. The trash still comes on Monday.
Yeah. So it becomes, instead of focusing on how can I build this man up that I live with, it becomes, it's the exact opposite. It's like, I'm not going to build them up because I never say anything positive when there are positive things going on, and instead I'm just going to nag about these little negative things. Mm-hmm. So, do you think that's fair? Sure. What I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I feel challenged in that area for sure. So yeah, I definitely think that is a big area, and I think that for women, we have a tendency to think, well, gosh, I mean, I do so much around the house. Why do I have to praise him for taking out the trash? Or I do, some of the, stay-at-home moms. I mean, I can remember being at home and saying, but I deal with them all day. And he comes home and wrestles them for 30 minutes and bathes them. And I'm supposed to tell him how amazing he is at being a dad, And so I think that we have a tendency to put our eyes back on us, and it's being purposeful in and being challenged in this area to where we can speak life and words of affirmation over our spouse. So, yeah.
So for a woman, I mean, in general, like for you, why does it, like, why do you feel like it's easier for some, just overall, for wives to pinpoint and pick out the little things that they may not, that a husband may not do, as opposed to, really focusing on the things that are done? Like, do you think, well, if I don't say those things and remind, me of those things, then they're never going to get done? Like, do you think that? Or
Yeah, a little bit, because I think there is you've even said before, we can't read your mind, and we just remind us or just tell us or whatever. And I think that's part of it, that we don't want to stew and get mad over the fact that you haven't changed a light bulb if we haven't said, hey, that light bulb really needs to be changed, and please change that light bulb. Part of it is just wanting to remind you.
Yeah.
But that definitely comes across as nagging in some aspects, I think.
I think that there is also a way to do that. So it may be that you have said it 10 times, but you're right in that sometimes we just genuinely forget.
Right.
And so if you're able to say, hey, I may not have mentioned this, but did you see that the light was out? And I'm just this is just a big example.
Yeah.
But something like that, I think that's a big difference in, hey, you remember I've told you 10 times that you need to change the light bulb. I mean, even if you're saying it jokingly and it's not the same as saying, hey, I may not have ever mentioned this, but I noticed that light's out in that room. That's a whole different way of approaching it.
Right.
So
it's saying the same thing, but in a respectful way.
Yeah.
And in a kind way.
And where I was really going with this is, the more that you praise your husband, the more they want to do things because they want to be praised again and again.
Sure.
And I'm telling you, when you stop praising them, then even those little things become way less important. Because it's awful to it's just the way we're made. We want to hear, I want to be your knight in shining armor. I want to rescue you. I want to be that person. But if you don't remind me that I'm doing that in all these other little ways, then I'm not going to care so much about the things that you're nagging me about. And, I would challenge wives out there to really go overboard in this area and see if it doesn't help with, because I genuinely believe that there's husbands out there that will look for stuff to do because they want to hear you tell them how great they are. And so the other part of that is to also do it in public. Like praise your spouse in public, even, for them to be able to hear you to say, oh my gosh, you should have seen what he did yesterday, or, anything.
And
it's
that's
just
not
like
over the top, because then your friends don't want to be around you.
Right.
Like, oh my gosh.
It can be done in a subtle
Sure.
way. But man, you talk about just walking away going, I'm the man. Like, I'm the man, and it's not. And I don't ever feel, you hear that, ladies? Don't y'all wish y'all had somebody like me? It's not that. It is like, I have made her happy. So,
and for us, I think that I would like to respond to that by saying that if you have a husband that doesn't do any of those things, when is the last time you praised him for doing any of those things? And try to find even the smallest thing that he could do that you were able to say, thank you so much for doing that. Even if it's something small, like taking out the trash. If you never say thank you for taking out the trash, do it. And then see if it continues, or if he wants to do something else because he is needing that affirmation. And then if you have a husband that spends a lot of time at work, he could be getting a lot of praise at work because it's like, well, up here, people notice. They think I'm the man.
Yeah.
And, at work, people tell me that. And
your boss is telling you what a great job you've done.
Right.
And
it's like, well, I like hanging out there better because I am the man at work. But you want him to be the man at your house too.
Yeah.
So it's
no, that is perfect, and it's a perfect way to say it, because I do think that if you can only find something small, start there and see what it does to them.
That's right.
And I really believe there will be a transformation. All right. Yep. Hey, I was really mature. Mature because
I don't know is the right word.
Okay, whatever.
You were really, I don't know.
Mature.
No, that's not the right word.
All right, so here's the thing. I mean, let's just be real. On Valentine, I've heard it said that if your husband is not able to be physically intimate with you on their birthday, their anniversary, and Valentine's Day, then they feel like a loser. Now, hopefully that's not the only 3 times that you're being physically intimate with your spouse, but I have heard that. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that, but I want to do it in a way that really starts a little bit of conversation. So it's not just, we've heard it said that, hey, in order to prepare a woman to be intimate physically, you need to work at it all day. You need to start in the morning, and you just prepare them all day by loving on them, doing things, all of that. And then to prepare a man, you just show up naked. Like, that's the joke. But I want to share that it is more than that to a man. Now I do think that there are times where when a wife says, look, I just know that is a need of yours, and so let me meet that need for you, that's amazing. Like, and that is a selfless act that does not go unnoticed. Like, that's incredible. But I think that also men want to know that whenever you're being physically intimate, it's not just a chore for you to satisfy your spouse and make them happy. Like, they want to know that you're into this as much as they are. And again, there is complete, like, it's amazing because I know how different a man and a woman are. So there are times where it's just like, hey, I want to meet this need for you, make you happy, and that's great. But if it's every single time, then it becomes, it affects the respect and the pride and the honor and all of that a man feels, because I think that men want to feel like they are desired and, all of those things. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. You're just sitting there staring at me.
No, I'm not. I'm listening.
Okay.
I'm taking it in.
Okay.
I'm a woman. I'm taking it in.
Is that, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Completely.
Cool. Do you think that how much of that changes just over time? How much of that is affected by time?
I think that you get comfortable.
Yeah.
With
familiarity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And gosh, I don't know. I think about, because we've been married 26 years, like, I think that, gosh, I don't know. I don't want to use the word familiar or comfortable, but you just gotta, you just kind of know, like, what your spouse enjoys and what works and what, and I get kind of anxious when I think about, well, gosh, do I need to get out of that familiar, I can't say that word.
Familiarity?
Yeah, that word. And do something a little risque. Okay, for example, about a month ago, there's this company that I use that sends me clothes like once every 2 months, and you get to decide if you want to keep it or not and send it back. I just love it because it's easy and I don't have to go to the store. And I got an email from them saying they were going to put together a special Valentine's box. And I was like, well, that'll be fun. And, I kind of clicked what I thought might be fun. And I remember I told you about it because I didn't want you to freak out that I'd done a charge on the card, getting another wannable box. And you'd be like, why are you getting another box? So I was like, I'm just telling you, I ordered a Valentine's Day one. There may not be anything good in it. I may not keep any of it. I just wanted you to know that I put that out there. And your response was, is that my Valentine's Day present? Because if it is, that'll be the best present ever. And I started thinking, gosh, maybe I'm too boring. Like maybe I should spice things up a little bit, or, maybe I should request a meow, outfit or so. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
Outfit. And so I kind of got a little self-conscious thinking maybe I don't do well in that area because I am so comfortable and because I know you so well. I just know what works. And so I think some of that is I desperately want to make you feel loved in that area. And I always feel like maybe I'm not doing enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, no, that's all great. And I do think there's the comfort and the being comfortable. Like that's just a sign of there is a part of that that's, hey, we are mature in our relationship. We know what we enjoy. We're growing old together. It's just that sweet spot. But then I just believe that every man out there just has this part that's like, man, when we were in the honeymoon phase, can we just be there every now and then? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, but I told you when you said that you told me about that box or whatever, and I remember texting you and said, you just telling me that is the greatest thing that happened to me today. Because just the fact that you thought about it, it hasn't led to anything, but the fact that you thought about that, was the greatest thing that happened. Because I'll move into this next thing because we kind of got to hurry here.
Sorry.
The next thing is flirting, that's flirting, And for me to know that you were thinking about that and thought of that, that was incredible. And I do think that as we have become, and everybody does this, as you get more comfortable, you just kind of stop flirting. And I think that guys, look, I mean, you think about when we were dating, you flirted with me all the time. And even as we were newlyweds, we were just constantly, and again, you grow up, all of that kind of stuff. I get it. But we couldn't keep our hands off each other when we were first married. And it was, and it can show itself in lots of different ways. I mean, the text, that are flirty text, it can be, just comments throughout the day. And I'm not saying all the time, but, even just touching throughout the day, a little, flirting of some sort, whispering something in their ear. And here's the part that I really want to, I mean, we're almost out of time for what we normally do, but I want to ask this question. Do you as a woman, does it cross your mind or enter your mind to think, if I flirt with him, then he's going to think, every time I flirt with him, that now it's got to lead to sex?
Absolutely.
So is that a reason?
Oftentimes I don't flirt or don't say things because I'm like, I don't need it to lead to something tonight. And I mean, that's just being really honest.
All right, perfect. And I'm so glad I asked that question, because I would say this for every man out there. And I'm not every man. So this may
You're
be.
Not?
No, I'm definitely not. If you're not used to flirting with your spouse at this stage of your marriage and you do it, chances are they're going to go straight to, oh, yes, tonight's the night. Immediately. That's what's going to happen. But let me just say, a little bit of that is your fault then, because that's the only time you're ever flirtatious with your spouse. So it's kind of like you have to maybe get over that hump. But if you incorporate that into like just every day, like, because what I want to say is, why not? Like, why not flirt with each other? And if you incorporate that into just, I mean, I'm not saying to be gross and obnoxious every day, but if you flirt with your spouse, if you flirt with your spouse on a regular basis, it will become, my wife is the greatest. She is so much fun, and genuinely will not expect that every single time that you flirt with them. It just becomes, we have so much fun together. And it really, like, honestly, it hurts me to know that there are wives out there, you included, that are like, I ain't flirting with him because then he won't get his hands off of me later. And like, that's a little bit, like, it's sad in a way. It's sad that we think that way, and it's sad that you think that way. So instead, I think we all need to kind of twist it to where it's like, can we not just have fun together? Like, God created this. Like, we're supposed to enjoy this part of marriage, but we're so scared. It's like these little things that just scare us away from it. It's like, oh my gosh, I know I'm going to be too tired, so I'm not going to say anything fun. And the guys are just like, just let me know that you still want me and that you still want to have fun with me. And it doesn't always have to lead to something. So I don't know. That was the one thing I wanted to make sure that we got out there, because I just think that every couple struggles with that. I mean, I just do. All right, so last thing is, you mentioned this, and this is going to be the very last thing we talk about, but you mentioned, do I need to spice it up? Do I need to, look, I don't, nobody's expecting you to sit down and think through every single time and what can I do to make this different and spice it up or whatever. But I do think that the adventure of that is, I mean, guys just crave adventure. They crave having fun with their spouse. And so when there is something different, and, whether that's a different location or whether that's just, you mentioned the lingerie or whatever, or it's just, trying something different. Just when you were in the honeymoon stage, it was like whatever, whenever, and wherever, and most of the time, by the time you get to the stage that we're in, and most people along the way, that's just gone. And not that it's bad, because it can still be really good, but I just think that there's people out there that are like, let's just have fun. And one example of that, so we were out, you'll probably think, I don't even really remember that. These are the things that guys never forget, like ever. So I run out of the trails, and we were out there. I convinced you to go with me one time, and we're out in my place, and I'm like, this is where I run every day, and the dog's with us. We're just kind of, and you said to me, have you ever thought about having sex with me out here? And we didn't, because that's probably illegal, but that was the greatest thing you've ever said to me, because I was like, huh, have I?
The greatest thing ever that I said to you. Awesome.
But it's just that kind of a thing. And I think it's more when we just, like, when I know that you're thinking, hey, like, I want you, this is fun, we're in this life together, we live this one time, let's just have as much fun as we can. That just does everything for a guy. So, all right, we went way over.
That's
I'm about
okay.
to shut this down.
You aren't going to shut it down before I say this.
Okay.
I want to make sure that there may be some women that are listening to this that say, my husband needs to hear this, as in, like, maybe you are the one that feels like you're never physical with your spouse, and that's okay. Like, these roles may be reversed.
Yeah.
They may be, whatever role you feel like you're in, this message can still be for you. This talk
good.
can still be for you, because it's not always the man that feels that way versus the women feel
and again,
feels the other way.
We can't overstate. We understand there's physical limitations.
All the things.
I mean, we can't address everybody. So
this is just in general.
And we're doing our best, because I mean, this is real life conversation between us.
That's right.
And we want to invite other people in because we know that other people have the same struggles and same issues that we have. So we just want to invite you into our world.
That's right.
None of that was scripted. Heather had no idea what I was about to say.
As evidenced by my getting very quiet.
I would look over and you'd be like, cricket. All right, that was fun. Okay, so next time we're gonna reverse the roles and we're gonna let Heather throw it at me and we'll see what happens.
Come back next week.
All right, you guys have a great week. Happy Valentine's Day. See you next time.